All right, boys and girls, so we're going to be discussing the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. At this point, your teacher would have already given you instructions on what page or where you're going to be creating this activity. So make sure that you do look out for that. If you're using interactive notebooks, what page has your teacher asked you to complete this on? So this is the page for my kiddos, so make sure that you get this set up on page 45. So like I mentioned, we are discussing the Articles of Confederation. You will create this hand because these are the main weaknesses of the Articles, America's first Constitution. Go ahead and put pause while you complete this and then come back and press play. Now, let's get started with these weaknesses. And of our 5 fingers, which one is the weakest? We would assume is the weakest, right? And that is our pinky finger. That is our weakest finger of our hand. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over just like this. And on this, the biggest weakness of the Articles of Confederation is the fact that we created a weak federal government. So I'm going to put here, weak federal government. Now, you can use your pencil, a marker, whatever you'd like. I love to beautify it by using colorful pencils or markers. So that is our weakest, a weak federal government. And when I say federal government, I'm also, it's the same thing as central government, as national government. So just keep that in mind. If you see federal, national, central, they all mean the same thing. Now the next thing, this is our ring finger, right? Your ring finger, which represents you're married. Well, when we created the Articles of Confederation, we didn't want to be committed to each other. We weren't ready to get married to each other. Literally, the states wanted to be single and kind of have their own independence. So we think about it, there was no wedding ring. There was no wedding ring. Because the states wanted to retain their power that they had grown accustomed to having, right? They each had their own constitutions and their self-governments. So they created a loose confederation, which isn't a great thing. You've created the United States of America, but yet you're not committed. You're not willing to get married, right? And be united. And so that became a weakness also. They literally didn't want to put a ring on it, right? So there was a loose confederation of states. There wasn't that unity, that commitment to each other. The next one is your, what we call the bad finger, right? The no finger. We don't use this finger, right? And so this no finger represents a couple of those main weaknesses, which I like to call no P, no A, no CCT. So say it with me, guys. No P, no A, no CCT. So no pact represents some of these additional weaknesses. So the P stands for president. So they didn't have a president. They didn't have an executive branch to enforce the laws, to make sure that all of these states are following the laws. There was no one there to make sure that they are following those laws that the federal government is issuing. Additionally, there was no more army because there's no commander-in-chief to begin with, right? So there's no national defense system. No courts, like we mentioned. There was only one branch of government, which was the legislative branch, which was Congress. So there was no court system, no judicial branch, no Supreme Court to interpret the laws. And as well, there was no common currency. Each state, because they were single and doing their own laws and not married to the federal government, they had each the power to coin money. So there was all kinds of different currency amongst the United States. So there was no common currency. And finally, the federal government did not have the power to levy taxes on the states. States could levy taxes on their own state, within their state, but the federal government could not. So therefore, that means we could never get out of the debt that we had incurred because of the American Revolution. So this is our no finger. No P, no A, no C, C, T. So right here, we're going to put no P, no A, no C, C, T. All right, guys? Now let's move on to our pointer finger. And a lot of the times our pointer finger is there because we point to, hey, go get me this. Let's do this. Let's go over there, right? When we want something done. So our Articles of Confederation made it so difficult to change our Constitution, to try to fix it. Even though we wanted to, like, let's get it done, we couldn't. Why? Because we only had one branch of government, which was Congress, but each state was able to send a representative over there, so they counted as a vote. So in order to try to, let's say, ratify a new law, make a new law, we needed 9 out of 13 states to approve in order to ratify that law. Additionally, if we wanted to try to fix what they like to call the shortcomings, the bad things of this sinking ship that we had created, we needed 13 out of 13 to amend this Constitution, which made it impossible to do. Finally, because of all of these weaknesses, the last thing that made us realize, hey, this isn't working, we need to do something about this, was an event known as Shays Rebellion. Just like this, Shays Rebellion. And this is when a farmer in Massachusetts known as Daniel Shays causes a rebellion because of the taxes that were being imposed by Massachusetts. And so all of these weaknesses finally led to the United States realizing that we needed to do something. And what did we need to do? So check this out. All of these contributed to what happened next. And what needed to be done was we needed to restructure the federal government. So restructure. And remember, federal is also central, is also national. So we needed to restructure it. And finally, when we realized this, what was created from this, what did we end up creating, which is going to be our next unit? We created the U.S. Constitution. All right, guys. Now, do remember that there is one good thing. They did have some strengths from the articles that we already discussed. The strength was how to admit new states into the Union, which was the Northwest Ordinance. But ultimately, there were so many weaknesses that caused us to look at our government again and restructure it and create our U.S. Constitution, something that has done so well that we continue to have it today. All right, guys, it became a living document, the new U.S. Constitution. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you guys again.